All right, what is going on, guys? It is Justice and Logan back with another podcast. Today we will be going over the awards this year, including MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, etc. Then we're going to talk about the Super Bowl. So, without further ado, hello, Justice. How you doing today?
I'm doing very good. Not super good though, because tomorrow is probably the worst matchup of the Super Bowl in the last 59 years that the Super Bowl has been around.
Yep, indeed it will be because it's another repeat. Feels like the Chiefs are always in these games, whether it be the Chiefs against the 49ers or the Chiefs against the Eagles. That's twice in a row where they've gone to four Super Bowls against two teams. So
Ugh,
it's kind of repetitive. It's getting annoying, but let's get to the awards. We can complain
all
about
right.
that after.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Sorry, I'm on the Chiefs thing right now, but
I was actually literally just, holy moly, who is that guy in the corner?
damn.
Is that a man or a
Okay.
woman?
Anyway, uh, that's it. Okay. NFL awards. What the hell?
Woo!
NFL honors. All right.
Oh yeah,
Did you
Snoop
see?
Dogg.
Did you
I
see?
see everything.
Snoop Dogg.
What did he
I,
get?
what
Didn't
the
watch
hell is
it.
going on? All
I
right,
totally gave up on that.
bear with me.
I'm bearing with.
NFL. Okay, ESPN NFL awards. I should have probably had
Yes.
this ready by now, but
Nah, we do about a fly. No one cares.
yeah. All
Whoa,
right.
my shirt
So
looks ugly like this. Joey's playing some
okay.
Fortnite.
Oh,
See if we
actually,
can get the
okay.
dub. Yep.
He probably not, but okay. So starting off with MVP,
What do you say?
probably the most popular award. Josh Allen. How do we feel about this?
Ugh. I mean, everybody knew
Oh
what
my
was gonna
god,
happen.
look now. Oh, wait. Goddamn.
Oh God,
Looks like I'm
that
running
looks
this
cool.
thing.
I had Lamar Jackson winning it in my opinion. I didn't think Josh Allen was going to win it, but he ended up winning. Which I guess he had a good year, but I thought Lamar Jackson played better.
I think
Uh,
he played better, but I think even like I said in that one video, I totally expected Josh Allen to win it because of the storyline. You know, I
yep,
just felt as if he was going to win, especially with all the noise the NFL players were making and, Buffalo was making. I feel like the NFL was just going to end up picking him and not pick, who should actually won it.
yeah,
I think we all knew that. I think last year I expected Lamar to win it. This year I didn't expect him to win it, and he didn't end up winning it. So, I mean, it's kind of what I thought was going to happen,
yeah. A lot of people were actually saying that Josh Allen's stats were better last year than Lamar's, and Lamar's
Snoop
Yeah,
somehow won.
Dogg.
So if
yeah,
anything,
Take
it
that,
equaled
Snoop
out.
Dogg.
yeah. I
Um,
mean,
Snoop Cat.
yeah. Saquon Barkley now offensive player of the year. Everybody knew that was going to happen.
yeah, I knew that.
It was not even a question. He was the best offensive player outside of the two quarterbacks. But it's what we expected. Washington
Yep.
Commanders, Jaden Daniels, best or offensive rookie of the year.
Totally expected.
One of the best rookie seasons ever. So yeah, knew that was gonna happen. Now I
100%.
didn't even. I'm a casual, but I didn't know who Jared Verse was, or I don't know how to even
I
say his name,
don't either.
but he had a good year apparently, and he plays for the Rams. And then coach of the year, Kevin O'Connell. The Vikings had a
Wow.
good year, but they kind of got destroyed in the playoffs. So I was not expecting that. I thought
I
maybe
wasn't
Dan
expecting
Campbell,
that
but
either.
even
Yes,
then they got blown out in the
they got
playoffs too, I
absolutely,
guess. So
especially too. I think what lost them the race almost immediately was, you cannot lose that bad to a rookie in the playoffs, especially when everybody's like, it's going to be Chiefs, Detroit. You can't then lose to a
yeah,
rookie in the playoffs. I mean, of course, the offense didn't do bad. I mean, Jared Goff, I don't know how good of a quarterback he truly is. I mean, he threw quite a few interceptions. Like,
yep,
again, not his first time doing that. But, I mean, everybody's I'm kind of getting over everybody being like that. They should have called the flag on that pick six hit. Like, of course, it should be a flag, but that's not why you guys lost. You guys
Yeah,
lost because your defense
yep. Again,
wasn't making a stop.
that was just an excuse.
Yeah.
I think that Kevin O'Connell is a great coach. I don't.
Here's my question. How do you feel about, of course, a few of the Detroit coaches leaving, especially with I'm a casual, so I forget his name, but
Dan Campbell.
Not Dan Campbell,
Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson, yeah, like him leaving to a rival, the Bears. I saw a lot of fans who was like, I hope he has the worst head coach tenure of all time, but like, the NFL is a business, and I mean, you're not going to stay a backup coach. Of course, you want to stay loyal, but if someone gives me a contract that'll make me millions more dollars plus, 100% control of a team, I'm taking it. I mean, there's no reason to stay as a pretty much backup coach to, none of them were even talked about. It's all Dan Campbell. If they would have Super Bowl, it was Dan Campbell this, Dan Campbell that. Maybe they would be like, yeah, and they did a great job too, but they wouldn't be seen that much, even though they probably do a lot behind the scenes. And I think every coach's goal is to, of course, run their own team. I don't think any coach goes and being like, oh, I just want to be the offensive coach. I want to be the decent defensive coach. No, everybody's main goal is to become head coach. It's what everybody does. High school coaches, you never want to be the backup coach for a high school team. You always want to be the head coach. I mean, if a high school were to call me and be like, one high school's like, you be our head coach, and one says you be our like defensive coordinator, I'm probably going to take the one and give me the head coach position because it's just a higher position. So they should be proud that Ben Johnson, who is not really that well known, came to Detroit and was able to grow as a coach himself. It looks great for Dan Campbell that two of his I think defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator both got. Were they both offensive or was on defensive?
No, they're both offensive defense. So
yeah,
both sides.
So it looks great for him. Great for Dan Campbell that he could get these guys, coach them up too, and make them good enough to be seen as head coach type of coaches. And instead of being like, I hate you, Ben Johnson. Be a little nicer. Say like, thanks for what you did here and congratulations. Don't 100% hate on him. I mean, he's getting, he's going to a rival, but your only job as a coach is to grow. Even as a player, sometimes you gotta go. Sometimes your only thing is just to grow on one team so you can get better on another. You can't always forever stay loyal on one team. Whoever's going to pay the most and give you the best position, they're going to be the team you're going to go for.
Yeah. And realistically, the Lions, I don't think they were going to be as good as they were this year. You look at their free agents leaving, it's like they're losing a lot of their defense. They're losing a lot of guys, and I don't expect them to – they're going to be good. They're not going to be great, though.
I just want to say this to Detroit fans. These 2 years were probably the years you had to win it. I think Detroit's going to look like same old Detroit after I don't think that they're going to stay. And I think it's something like the Chiefs, too. The Chiefs were never really seen. And with Patrick Mahomes, they got so big. They're probably going to be big for another few years. But after that, they're probably just going to go back to another team that's never really seen. Because there are a few teams who are just always, like the Steelers, who are always just mid. They're always just that team that's there and talked about.
Yeah. Even like the Bengals, though, because Bengals, they went from poverty to AFC Championship and Super Bowl 2 years in a row. But after that, what have they done? 9-8. They kind of fell off, and I expect them to have a similar thing. And honestly, people are saying that Ben Johnson's going to fail, but you can't say that when Caleb Williams, I know he had a bad year, but he's still he is elite talent. He just has to put it all together, and maybe a new head coach is all he needed.
The Browns are also really cursed. I mean, they're a mid team.
Myles Garrett requested a trade. That's crazy.
Myles, I always felt bad for guys like Myles Garrett and stuff like that who played on these, trash teams that maybe could win one playoff game, because it's the same thing I say with Tyreek Hill. I mean, it's like he left the Chiefs, who were good back then, to go to the Miami Dolphins, and then he complains when they don't make the playoffs. Like, if he would have just taken his, $1 million, it's still $1 million thing, contract they gave him, he could be a multi-Super Bowl champion and be retiring with his career being known as the guy who was the fastest wide receiver, with Patrick Mahomes, one of the strongest quarterbacks, being the fastest and strongest duo. But he left for the extra money, And now everyone knows him for as the guy who played with the dude who has like 18,000 concussions and who never saw any playoff wins. And he's probably going to retire soon. And he's overpriced, and I don't see
Yeah.
anybody who's going to want to take him. I also wanted to say this. That Luka trade was crazy.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Anthony Davis getting hurt in his first game when he was already seen as an injury-prone player makes the trade even better. That is a crazy picture in the corner. ESPN's got to get something fixed, bro.
Dude, what the hell? Okay. The hell is this one?
That.
Oh, weight loss.
Eat one teaspoon every night. See what happens a week later. I wish.
All right. Yeah, that freaking Luka trade though. I can't believe they did that.
I can't believe that. He looks good too.
Yeah,
he does. He does not look bad at all. He looks. He doesn't even look that big. I mean, I can't believe it. Now the guy they got, who I'm telling you, the Lakers traded him because he was injury prone already.
Yep.
And first game, he might be off of the season with whatever he did to his groin. I mean, a non-contact too, which makes it even worse. And that must be, that must suck to be, a fan, because you didn't just lose your best player, but the guy you got to back up is now probably not going to play. And I would like to say this. Though I don't see the Lakers doing anything crazy because they absolutely have no defense.
Yeah, and they don't have big defense. Their big is like
they got to do something crazy.
I think Davis is I'd say he's a superstar, but he just gets injured all the time.
He gets injured all the time, and
yeah.
It's irony that everyone's like, well, Anthony Davis isn't that injury prone. Like we should have just kept him and tried something else, and then he gets hurt first game. I mean, oh, man, I would like to say this, though. While last game was a little bit better, we didn't see too much referee aiding in the game against Buffalo. I know people were saying there was some
that fourth down was one.
But I would like to say the MVP of that game, of course, was the referees. You got to have the referees. So while Las Vegas might be saying right now that the Eagles have a 56.1 chance of winning, it's going to be those guys who are going to make the difference, and they're going to push it to the other side.
Yeah.
I mean, but I will say this: Buffalo was a good game. The spawning of the ball was pretty mid. I mean, they review it, and that it's also a foul on the part of New York not reviewing it good. And if so, then New York's on their side too. So maybe I should get a picture of New York holding their jersey too.
Yeah.
But I mean, he might not have gotten it, and it's one of those things too. You have to say, not one thing loses you a game. Not one thing does anything. There's always got to be a bunch of things. They just couldn't. They couldn't put it together. I mean, we were both watching.
They fell on a few drives, bad turnovers.
Me and you both commentated on how they looked a little shaky in the beginning. Fumbling snaps and losing yards, and that they didn't win it. And I would like to say, like I said, of course I'm joking around, but the referees weren't that big of a difference in that game. It was a good ref game. It wasn't like what we saw against Texans where the rough in the passer and then the late hit on, him being a runner and sliding way late. But, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want it? Oh, I love it.
Yeah, but I think that the Chiefs' future depends on this game. If they win, I think they have a chance to do something greater than Tom Brady ever did. But if they lose, you never know. Some guys might want to leave just because I don't know. One loss can propel you in a bad direction for a long time. And I'm not trying to count them out, but I just don't see. I feel like every year their roster gets worse and somehow they get better.
Yeah.
But I just how's that sustainable? Andy Reid is going to have to retire soon enough. He's getting older. Patrick Mahomes is only getting older. Look at his stats this year: 26 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. That's not an elite level QB play. Neither was Jalen Hurts. But
I think both Travis Kelce and Andy Reid have been showing that it might be possibly time that both of them are going to retire. It might be. I thought I saw something about both of them were talking about. I don't know if it's going to be exactly next year. Just Tyreek Hill talked about a few years ago, 2025 might be his last year. Of course, that's not set in stone.
Yeah.
But, he could be hinting at, of course, possibly both leaving. And I think once they lose Kelsey, and especially Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes this, Patrick Mahomes that, but Andy Reid probably does a huge chunk of their wins. Patrick Mahomes isn't the guy making the plays usually, probably, and Travis Kelsey, he's just a guy they can look to. I mean, unless they have if they lose Andy Reid, I would be amazed, and I say this every year. I would be amazed if the Chiefs go to Super Bowl. They always do. I mean, they're 15-2, which is an amazing record. I forget even, and one of their losses shouldn't even count. They should be, of course, they would be 16-1. They'd be so close to
Denver
a 17-0 season. Let's say they don't lose that other game. I forget who they lose to, but
they lost to Buffalo and Denver.
If you don't count that Denver game and they beat Buffalo, you could possibly argue that they had a 17-0 season. Yeah. I mean, you really could, because it wasn't the Chiefs on the field, it was their backups. I might be rooting for the Chiefs in this one, because every single time I see Kenny Pickett talking, I get pissed off. He doesn't deserve a ring. He's garbage.
Dude. Well, imagine Kenny Pickett gets a ring before Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow.
No.
Holy shit, that would be that's insane. I didn't even think about that.
No. I don't want. I was watching him talk.
Kenny Pickett so
I was watching Kenny Pickett talk, and I was the entire time I was fuming. I hope the Eagles lose.
He threw himself. He didn't throw himself.
Yeah, remember that play where he literally threw the ball and threw himself?
Oh yeah.
You got to get up that video. That was absolutely crazy. He looked, but then again, the ball was also batted, so he did a smart move of making sure he didn't fumble.
Yeah.
So
score predictions. What are we predicting on the score? Now, last time our score predictions were not even close. Like maybe the second game was.
Yeah. Washington, I did not expect them to put up 55 points. I did think the Washington had a poverty defense. 55 points is beyond me. I don't.
Yeah.
At a certain point, Washington just gave up. I was expecting Washington to put up more of a fight towards the end. There was no fight left in their tank. No gas was left in their tank. I totally believe this game will be another 30-something score game. What is a reasonable score? Maybe 38, 35, just like a last year type. I don't see 40s. I know there are people like the score is going to be 40-something. I really don't foresee 40. I mean, these offenses are going against good defenses on both sides. For them to score 40, I would mean, I was telling Joey, the one big thing is if Saquon can't run, I don't foresee the Eagles. We'll probably be talking, tomorrow during the Super Bowl as I literally stuff trash food down my face. If Saquon can't run the ball, they're not going to win this game, I don't think, because Saquon is huge for getting their first downs, getting them down the field, being this, just lay his head down, getting through the line. And Jalen Hurts is really good. This is not like the Steelers where one of our best things was just throwing the moon ball every time. And if we caught it, we caught it. This was like, get down the field slowly, push when you need to, get Saquon running. I mean, this is not a huge throwing team. And I mean, you kind of, the yards, he has really good yards, but that's not the yards of a quarterback that we've seen like Josh Allen, who's a throw-heavy guy.
Yeah. I mean, I predict a similar scoring game, 34-31, 31-30. I don't because just last time I learned my lesson not to ever count out offenses because it seemed like both teams or every team, even the Washington Commanders, they had a lot of bad turnovers, but I feel like they could have scored 30-something if they didn't turn the ball over. So I think that this is going to be a similar score to the last Super Bowl these two teams played. But I'm going to have – man, I just don't know if you can count the Chiefs out. But
you can't count the Chiefs out.
I don't know. Saquon Barkley, he has an injury right now. I just think he's good, though.
I think he's so good. I forgot to say, I am just going to take the Chiefs just because they're the Chiefs, though I am, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of the Eagles. I kind of want both teams to lose. I hope they tie until like 1 a.m, and then they have to end the game as a tie and split the trophy in half. I hope that happens.
Oh my God.
Because then, nobody wins and nobody loses, though.
Kenny Pickett gets a slice swing.
I hope Kenny Pickett has to go on the field and then gets absolutely destroyed by a linebacker. But I just think I'll say this about the Chiefs. For them to lose we do need to see the Chiefs, like how they looked against Buffalo,
Yeah,
where they were turning over the ball, not getting first downs. If the Chiefs come out here and they don't make any mistakes,
they're gonna win. It's
they're gonna
obvious.
win. Of course, that's a little cherry picked. If nobody makes mistakes, then you'll probably
No,
win.
but the
But
Chiefs, they're like
they're a
16,
different animal.
16 and 0 in like one score games the last
Yeah.
16 games they played. I think that the Eagles will have less margin for error, but I feel like Saquon Barkley is going to be looking for that ring because of his whole career. He played with the Giants, and it was just brutal. And I think Jalen Hurts. I think that this whole Eagles team actually will want revenge for that last Super Bowl they lost. And on another questionable call, and I think that Jalen Hurts and the Eagles are actually going to take this one.
You know, I think that too. So does Las Vegas, ESPN Analytics. I mean, they're kind of thinking that too. I mean, I'm excited for the game.
Yeah.
I think what will be huge is, again, something needs to happen. I think for both teams, I think I would feel more confident with an Eagles win if, like a type of 49ers incident where someone gets injured. I think
Yeah.
if they get even like a Travis Kelce, if he even just tweaks a muscle or he's just sore during the game, I mean, we could possibly see them losing that.
Yeah.
The
Eagles
Chiefs
have
come
a good
out and they look
defense
good.
too.
And that's the thing I was about to say. The Eagles have a good defense. Now, this is like, of course, the Eagles defense has, even like against Washington, it kind of seemed like they had a little bit of a hard time stopping them. They were making stops, but it kind of seemed like a lot of drives were sustained long. And here's the thing I'll say. Against the Chiefs, you cannot let them sustain drives. You gotta. So the only worry is if they were letting Washington sustain a lot of times per drive, I'm kind of worried about, against the Chiefs. You cannot let them. You gotta 4-and-out them at least
Three times.
Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, you cannot. Actually, I'm getting up the numbers right now. Like, it was with Washington, it was nearly 30-30 at the time. Washington nearly got 30 minutes with the ball, which is a lot of times normal. But if you give the Chiefs 30 minutes with the ball, they'll probably score like they did, 55.
Going back to the one-score games too. If they have even split amount of time with the ball, you got to keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' arm or hands, whether it be with the refs or with his ability to throw the ball, escape the pocket. I mean, the Eagles also have a lot of injuries on the defensive line, which I'm a little suspect about. I think that will cause a little struggle for them, but I don't think it's. I really like. People were talking about an Eagles blowout. I honestly see that. I see. It's hard to explain. Like, I don't think the Eagles can blow the Chiefs out just because Patrick Mahomes, like, every time he faces adversity, it just seems like he freaking just comes back. So I don't see them getting blown out. I do see the Eagles being in control of the game. I could see this. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I see that they could control the game all game. So they might have the lead all game, but I think it's going to come down in the last few minutes.
It 100% will. And I'll say this about Patrick Mahomes. There are a lot of quarterbacks, and this is, one that hits close to home with the Steelers. Of course, a lot of quarterbacks are too scared to run the ball. Like, Russell Wilson, he just would always take a sack or throw it away. I'll say this about Patrick Mahomes, it's really cool. Not just is he a throwing threat, but if he really wants to, he'll run the ball and he'll find ways to get you flagged. Like, I mean, he'll find ways to get you flagged. And I'll say this, a lot of people talk about Josh Allen just running through guys. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, he'll just run right through you if he wants to. And he's not a slow guy. He's not slow at all. He's pretty quick. And he'll sustain a run. A lot of times he won't slide. A lot of times he'll go and he'll lower that shoulder. We saw it with one of their touchdowns. I think it was, I forget exactly which team it was, but it was a really famous clip of him just running through like two defenders, two linebackers.
Oh, I think it was the 49ers.
I think it was the 49ers diving into the end zone. And like he's got that, he's not as fast as Lamar Jackson, but he's fast. he has that sense of Lamar Jackson, like, wanting to run. And he reminds you a lot about like Josh Allen, where he's tough and he'll run it if he has to. He's not scared to run it, compared to a lot of guys, like I was saying, Russell Wilson, who absolutely not on any occasion run the ball. And when he does, a lot of times with quarterbacks like that, when they do run the ball, it's a spectacle and they'll get like 15 yards.
Yep.
But that's because they take the widest of, gaps. Like someone like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, they'll run even if it's just like a 5-yard run. Then you got another level, which is guys like Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels. Well, they're fast. Like, even if there isn't a big gap for them, they'll just run it. And they'll get far. They'll juke people out. They'll outrun people. You don't got to worry about the line guys getting to them. They'll just get right past the line. It's going to come down to the linebackers, and if they're able to make a tackle, keep up with them. But they're, I think that's what I was just about to get to is the Eagles need to stop Mahomes from getting passes, especially to Xavier Worthy. They cannot let these short checkdowns turn into like 15-yard throws because he's just going to absolutely.
They'll do it all game.
They'll do it all game.
And if they cover him, he's probably going to rush out of the pocket because
it's exactly what I was about to say. You got to worry about
just like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes is like, they're kind of, I wouldn't call them like fat, but like they kind of like they have more
beefy.
stuff. They're beefy,
Yeah. You know who was beefy, but he didn't run? Big Ben. He didn't run at all. But man, that guy. There's videos of like people trying to tackle him, and they would just roll right off his shoulder.
Yeah,
like
he was just slow, but he could destroy defenders.
And again, like I was saying, when he did run, it was a spectacle. The whole field would shake, but I mean, he would get like 15 yards per run, and he would run through a few guys. But I was just about to say that they need to make sure that they cannot let Mahomes throw, especially not downfield. Like they are telling their cornerbacks, their safeties, like, guys, we cannot leave anybody open downfield. Mahomes will bomb it 55 yards to the end zone.
He has to,
and like he will. I mean, he did against my Steelers like 3 times because our backfield is poverty. But you're telling them to worry. You're probably going to have guys covering the middle. You're going to have guys. You're never probably pressing. They're probably not going to press, and that's where you also got to get worried. They got to be smart. They're not going to be pressing. You're not going to see too many times where they're pressing. And of course, they're going to press every so often in short distance because you're going to be afraid of the cutback. But I see a few first downs where they're not going to be pressing, and guys are just going to turn back and catch the ball. And I think at that point, they're going to sustain drives, and Mahomes might just be able to slowly break down that defense, But they got to play smart. They got to be on their best of game. They got to be vigilant. They got to make sure that they're not leaving guys open. They're getting to those cutback passes, though, knocking them down, intercepting them if they can. And they also got to tell these line guys, like, hey, we got to contain Mahomes. You cannot be letting, especially if they are guarding, very strongly against any route, especially Mahomes. I think Travis Kelce, they're going to be very wary when he's on the field. You got to contain Mahomes, because if not, you're going to have a bunch of guys all over the place, and there's going to be a lot of guys everywhere. And they're never going to be in a place where, it's going to be hard to have it's going to be really hard to have a quarterback spy. It's hard to have a quarterback spy on Mahomes because that spy is one less guy guarding, Kelce and wide receivers.
And then he'll just find a guy open. They really have to pick their poison on what they think. I mean, I'm sure that the Eagles defensive coordinator will have a good game plan, but it's going to be a good game. Don't get me wrong, it's going to be a great game in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's just not what everybody wants to see because it's happened over and over again.
Before.
We just want to see a new matchup. Nobody thinks this is going to be a bad game by any means. They just think it's just repetitive, and everybody wants to see a new team playing in the Super Bowl. It's natural for people to think like that, but it's going to be a good game. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, and
it'll be a good game. And like you're saying, pick your poison. I mean, if we haven't really seen a team contain the passes and contain wide receivers and Kelce that well this year. So we don't know what Mahomes would do under that pressure, especially in the Super Bowl. Of course, he knows how to deal with pressure. We don't know exactly how well he looks because a lot of the games, nobody was containing the wide receivers well enough to show us that. I think tomorrow the game plan is the line guys got to get through. They got to put pressure on Mahomes. And the thing is, everybody's got to do their job. Guys in the backfield, don't leave anybody open. Guys at the line, you can't be getting stuck up. You got to rush. You got to spin. Whatever you can do to get into Mahomes' face, throwing up your hands. Like don't just let him. If you see him leaving the pocket, get off your block. Sidestep. Try and keep him in the, at least in the backfield. Don't let him pass the line. I think that's going to be a big testament.
Yeah.
If the Eagles can keep Mahomes in the backfield, like that alone, that's already big enough. If they can get like good coverage on the wide receivers and their line can keep him contained, I think they win this game.
Yeah, I think it would definitely make it harder for them to win. So anyway, I think we should probably wrap it up soon. I think it's past 30 minutes or something now. But excited to see what happens, and hopefully we get a good game. And thanks for joining today and talking about the game.
We didn't say who's gonna win MVP of this Super Bowl though. And you know who's gonna win MVP of this Super Bowl? The referees. Sorry, Taylor Swift.
Oh, Taylor
Swift.
Also,
are you excited for the halftime show? Because I'm excited to see what he does.
I mean, obviously every year halftime show is entertaining, so I hope that it's good. But
I hope at halftime I can be excited watching him sing as the Chiefs are destroying them 55-0 in their own playing. If it ends up being a score like that, I think there's a better chance of the meteor hitting the stadium than a score like that. I don't think that's a possible score. But thanks for having me. And I think that's my predictions for this year. I'll let both teams have a good game. Let the Eagles win. Let Kenny Pickett get injured. Let him go into free agency and shit. Agency. No,
and then he'll join who's a bad team. Let him join the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I hope Cleveland Browns. So that's the place you go when you're just washed or you don't know how good a player is. You go there, you look washed, and you go somewhere else, you look a little bit better, but you never make it past the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah,
that's
very true. That's never-ending cycle for those players. Must suck.
Yeah. You go to Browns.
Unfortunate, but thanks for joining today, and
thanks for having
we will see you guys later.